Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast. My name is Anniken and I live in the southwest of England in Cornwall. I'm originally from Norway, but I've lived here for nearly 30 years now. So longer than I lived in Norway, basically. Thank you for joining me today. I'm back from holiday. I've still got a little bit of a holiday tan. We had a bit of an exciting end to our holiday, which I'll tell you about in a minute. I got loads of knitting done on holiday, especially during the last few days, which I'll tell you why. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know why already. It's a little bit exciting. But I'm home. I've had a really unproductive week. I got YarnAddict coming up next week in Yorkshire and came back with a bit of a panic about the fact that I had a lot of preparation to do for YarnAddict. A lot of that, I did loads of stuff to order and things like that, but till it all kind of arrives, I feel a little bit kind of panicky that yarn's not going to get here and patterns aren't going to get here and all that kind of stuff. I should have ordered them before I went on holiday really, but I just didn't get around to it. And I left it till I got home and I'm in a slight panic about it. Also been really tired this week. I think it's just getting back to things after a holiday. The travel home, we had to get up at 3 o'clock Spanish time, which was 2 a.m. English time. So it was a bit of a stressful travel home. If you think my lips are looking weird, I can't decide whether they look weird on camera or not, but I woke up this morning with quite swollen lips, so if I sound like I'm talking funny, or you think, has she had lip injections? No, I haven't had plumping injections. I just woke up this morning with slightly swollen lips and I can't work out why. I don't know, maybe I'm coming down with something, who knows, but they were slightly swollen this morning. They're better now than they were really bad this morning. I did look like I'd had a really bad lip implant this morning, but they are getting better, so hopefully they'll improve. But yeah, we had a great holiday. I'll show you what I was knitting in a minute and what's on my needles at the moment, and I did manage to finish something as well. A little bit of a story about that. End of a holiday was quite exciting. I don't know, I think it made the news in the UK and other parts of Europe, I'm sure, because it was quite extreme. But we were on the southern Costa Blanca, and Costa Blanca, or the whole, I think most of the Valencia region, the Murcia region, Almeria, Mallorca and Ibiza, I believe, all had a horrendous storm. I read somewhere that it was a Mediterranean hurricane. And I also read quite a few places that it was the worst storm in 100 years. Certainly the worst storm we've ever had in Spain. We've been to Spain quite a few times now in August and September, and especially September, and it is common to get some quite heavy rain in September. We've had flooding there before, not my parents' flat, but in the area we've been in, but nothing like this. And I've lived in Cornwall for 30 years, and we get our fair share of bad storms in Cornwall. Still, this is one of the worst ones I've experienced, I think. We had 12 hours of more or less continuous thunder and lightning, or at least it felt like it. I woke up, it was, I think, mostly afternoon and evening, or sort of mid-afternoon, all evening. I woke up during the night and I could hear thunder. And then when I woke up in the morning, got up, it was still thunder and lightning. So it just seemed to go on and on and on. The rain started Wednesday. It was cool, too cold to go. We went to the beach, but it was too cool, so we left after half an hour, and it started sort of very light drizzle. And then on the Thursday, we decided to go to a nearby town called Elche. No idea if I'm pronouncing that the Spanish way or not. It's just south of Alicante, slightly inland. And we wanted to see the cathedral, and I'd also been tipped off about a yarn shop that I wanted to visit. We went to the cathedral, and then we went to a museum, archaeological and history museum, which was really interesting. And then we ended up going to lunch. It was, by the time we came out of lunch, it was siesta, so we weren't able to go to the yarn shop because it would have been closed. Completely deserted, even before it started raining, but after it started raining, it was even more deserted. Spanish don't go out in the rain, I don't think. And we drove home. We were getting increasingly worried because the rain was heavier and heavier, and it is a very flat area, and there are loads of salt lakes, and it floods really, really easily. So we got home, and then the rain just hammered down all afternoon, and we found out later that the police in the area we were on, the Orella Costa, had actually asked motorists not to drive. I think they put a ban on driving. It's a lot of Northern Europeans in that area, so how they would know, because I bet most of them don't even speak Spanish, so how they would know, I'm not quite sure. Orihuela City, which I've never actually been to, they had extreme flooding, and I believe people there were also banned from leaving their houses. I think many people had to be rescued. Motorway tunnel near us got completely flooded. It was halfway full with water. On the Friday morning, we actually, or it might have been Friday afternoon, we decided we would try and drive. The rain had stopped, so we decided we would drive down the coast to Mar Menor, which is a lagoon on the Murcia coast. One of my favourite places to go on the beach. And we decided we'd drive down to a place called Lo Pagan to go for a walk and maybe get some lunch. And we got probably about halfway, and we were driving on this coastal road that's right next to the motorway, near this motorway tunnel that we go through all the time when we're on holiday there. And I looked over and I could see, as the road was going down into the moat tunnel, it just looked like a river. As it started going down, it was just completely filled with water. And when I looked back towards the tunnel, it was over half full with water. Really, really shocking. I mean, you know. So I think somebody died. I'm not sure there was that tunnel or another tunnel, because I know there's another tunnel in Almeria that got flooded. I think somebody died in one of those two tunnels. People had to be rescued. Motorway obviously got closed. The road we were on, just after that area there was flooding, and we got to this roundabout and it was just thick, muddy water, so we decided to turn back. And I'm really glad we did, because when we saw the news, we realised that the whole area around the Mar Menor lagoon had completely flooded. I mean, the flooding was just extreme. So I'm really glad that we were safe. I feel really sorry, and my thoughts are with those who were suffered in that storm, the ones who flooded. We did drive down to Lo Pagan at Mar Menor on the Saturday to get a late lunch, and at that point the water had receded, but the damage was quite a lot. There was loads of signs of that there'd been flooding. There was loads of mud everywhere. Loads of people were cleaning out. The beaches were completely wrecked. A lot of places were closed, but a few places were open, so we did have lunch and then drove home again. But it was just so sad to see the damage, and I feel really sorry for those people who lived there and those people who were affected by the storms. My thoughts and prayers are with those people. Where my parents were, their urbanisation was fine. They don't really get much flooding. The road outside flooded, but the urbanisation itself didn't flood. I don't think anyone there had flooding as far as I know. So, bit of a last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, last 4 days of a holiday was really kind of ruined by the weather, really. But before that, we had some lovely weather and some lovely beach weather. Now, my main knitting on the beach was socks. When we left on holiday, I actually cast on for a pair of hand warmers. They are beaded. When I left, I just grabbed a bag of beads that was partly used. It looked like it had quite a lot in it. I'm just putting the hand warmers on so I can show you. It looked like it had quite a lot in it, but I didn't count them, and I also didn't count how many beads I might need. I just grabbed the beads. I did bring a second bag, like a full bag down, but I didn't take it with me because I thought I had enough. So these are the hand warmers. I finished the first one, and then I got to probably about there on the second one. I think I had one repeat left. I think I needed something like 10 beads to finish. So yeah, I ran out of beads. I knitted mainly on this a lot on the beach and the pool for the first few days. It didn't take me long to finish what I did finish. So I finished one, and then the second one I got to about there probably. No, it wasn't. It was just before. It was just before, probably the round before I had to divide for the thumb. That's right, because I did that when I got home. So when I got home, I quickly got on. I finished these. They have bead. It's actually a lace pattern I've used for hand warmers before. I've knitted this 2 or 3 times before, but I've never actually published a pattern. So I thought this year I would actually publish a pattern. But I added beads, pink beads. The yarn is from Truly Hooked. I'm just going to grab the label. It is Standard sock in violet is superwash merino and nylon from Truly Hooked. I'll put the details below. It's been in my stash for a while. Got a feeling I probably got this at show that slipped my mind in Totnes. I've been teaching there since the beginning and I can't remember what it's called. Isn't that bad? In Totnes in Devon. I think that's where I got the yarn a few years ago. So it's been in my stash for a while. Love the colours. I added pink beads. On the inside, the beads are up to about here, and then there's no beads on the inside of the hand because I tend to wear this a lot when I'm driving and things. So I don't think it's more comfortable not to have beads on the inside of the hand. I did a thumb gusset this time. I need to adjust this a little bit for the final pattern, but haven't written the final pattern yet. But I was hoping to get that done this week, but I don't know whether I will do or not. I was hoping to get off to my tech editor before I leave for Yarndale next week, but we'll see. Then after I finished that, I cast them for a pair of socks. So the yarn, that's what's left of the yarn. Beautiful colours. The yarn is from a local dyer here in Cornwall, actually a village not that far from where I live, called Demelsos Delights. I'll put her details below. It's luxury yak sock yarn. It's got 70% superwash merino, 20% yak and 10% nylon. And it is, the colourway is called Bodmin Moor in the Rain. Now Bodmin Moor is just about 10 minutes from where we live, the edge of Bodmin Moor. It's where I worked with horses when I first moved here. It's where I met my husband. My husband's lived on the edge of Bodmin Moor for most of his life. So it's a place that's quite close to my heart. It's where my husband proposed. It wasn't in the rain, it was in the snow actually, and I was terrified he was going to drop the ring because it was also dark. So that's one of the socks. I could only find one sock blocker this morning, so I've only put one on the sock blocker because socks with afterthought heel does look better on the sock blocker than just holding them up. Where's the other sock? So that's the other sock. It just looks weird when it's not on a foot or a sock blocker. But they actually fit really well. I did wear these for the last few days of the holiday, so they need to be washed, but I thought I would wait till after I'd shown them off. So I'm showing you dirty socks. I only wore them in the flat, so they're not that dirty. But I did toe up with a wedge toe. Let me show you that on the other one. So I used my Aventuras sock pattern, which is Spanish for adventure. So I started with a wedge toe. My wedge toe is slightly different from like a standard wedge toe. And then the Aventuras sock pattern has a choice of alternating rib and garter rib. I actually just did a plain 2x2 rib. I started doing alternating rib, but because this yarn is highly patterned, I wasn't that happy with how it looked, and I just did plain rib. The advantage of rib is that it gives your socks really nice stretch and fit, and because it has yak in it, I wasn't sure how the yak would act, because merino will kind of shrink back a bit and kind of give your socks a bit of spring. I wasn't sure how yak would act with that, so that's why I wanted to do rib. Plus I tend to do rib for most of my socks because it just creates a really nice fit. I did afterthought heel, which means that when you get to the heel you knit in a waist yarn, and then I undid that after I finished the socks and did a swirly heel, which is my favourite heel at the moment. So it's my Aventura sock pattern toe up. The Aventura sock pattern you can knit toe up or top down. It's got choice of 2 stitch patterns, 2 toes and 2 afterthought heels. So that's the socks. So they can go in the wash now and I can wear them again. Let me just drop that down. After that, I mainly knitted on that on the beach. After that, I cast on for a pair of socks, another pair of socks. So this is from West Yorkshire Spinners signature sock. It's been in my stash for a while. I asked Emily to pick out some yarn for socks before we went on holiday, and she picked up this colourway and another one. This one, which is red, yeah. But then when we're in, so these were going to be for Emily, but then when we're in Spain, my mum brought a bag of 6 pairs of socks to share between my 2 daughters, so they get 3 pairs each. So I decided that these socks could be for Simon, so that I'm actually knitting them for Simon, not Emily. Again, I'm using Emily doesn't know that yet. this time I'm using my Aventura sock pattern, and I'm doing toe up, wedge toe. I was going to do a circular toe or swirly toe, but I thought Simon probably actually prefer a wedge toe. I tend to put a marker when I start the foot so that it's easy to count. I'd use a row counter as well, but sometimes I have to go back and count because I've forgotten to click or something. And then when I get to where I put the afterthought heel in, I put another marker in so that I can count for the leg if I need to. So that's the waist yarn. Can you see that? The pink yellow line there. That's the waist yarn for the afterthought heel. So I'm probably I've done about 40 rounds on the ribs. I'm about halfway, so 40 rounds on the legs. I'm about halfway up the leg. So I haven't actually touched these since we came back. It tends to be a project that just lives in my handbag. I will take it to Yorkshire next week and maybe finish it while we're away. We'll see. So that's socks on the needles. And then I cast on for this new linen shawl. I've talked about this yarn in several previous episodes, but it's lean gun from Vexport, which from Knit with Attitude in London. I'll put the details below. If you want to know more about the yarn, go back to episode 6, I think, 5 or 6. So this is what it's looking. I'm actually partway through a row. I have probably about 400 stitches by now. And it's difficult to show you exactly the shape of it because my needle is not that long, but it's basically, and I'm trying not to drop stitches off, but it's basically that kind of shape that just grows and grows and grows. If I knitted it in the round, it would actually be a square, but because I'm knitting it back and forth, it'll just be a very wide kind of butterfly type shape. I love how the color is knitting up. I started out doing stripes with some YarnAddict when I changed the color. So to start with, I did 20 row stripes, and then I did 10 row stripes, and then I started the lace pattern. So the lace pattern, I'm just doing like color blocking because I don't think the stripes, 2 row stripes, would look great with that lace pattern. So I'm doing the same lace pattern in all 3 colors. I'm about quarter of the way through the silver color. And then I'm going to have to weigh the yarn after that and see if I can do the same lace pattern for another repeat before I do the edging, or exactly what to do. I haven't quite decided yet. I am recording a few videos as I'm doing this shawl to kind of do it as a little bit of a insight into my design process. I will do that regularly with designs over the coming months, so you can see little glimpses into my design process. So I haven't actually knitted on that since we came home either. So when we got home, the first thing I did was, well, I think the day we arrived home, I think I did knit a bit on those blue socks because I was incredibly tired. Like I said, we got up at 3 AM Spanish time. We flew from Alicante to Bristol Airport, then got the coach to Plymouth, and then got a train from Plymouth. Got home about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we've been up since 2 AM British time. Got home at 1 in the afternoon, fell asleep for a bit, and then went to pick our dog Alfie up from my in-laws. And I wasn't in a kind of thinking space at all. It was just a case of trying to stay awake for as long as possible so I could go to bed at normal time. So I think I knitted a bit on the sock, but it's all a bit blurry what happened last Sunday. And then I suddenly remembered I had to finish these, so I got these out and I finished those on the Monday. And then I also remembered that I had this cardigan on the go before I left on holiday. So I showed you this before I went away. So that's the back. Love these colours. They're just so rich. And I must admit, in my head, I thought I had finished, nearly finished the second front. And then I picked it up and I thought, I only just started the first front. Because I was thinking, oh, I can try and finish that this week as well. So I hadn't got that far on the first front. Don't know, probably like, that's the first front, probably about a third, I guess. I don't know. It's that way, by the way. It will stretch quite a lot, as you can see when I block it. So I've been working on that mostly this week to try and finish it. So I finished the first front and then I cast on for the second front. And a little bit of a cautionary tail. So this is the second front, so I haven't got that far in it. I think I've done 2 repeats. A little bit of a cautionary tale about knitting when you're tired. On, I think it was Tuesday night, I was really tired, and I had a problem with my printer before we went away, so I wasn't able to print out the pattern. I didn't write out the pattern fully before I started. I just charted it out. And then when I finished the back and started the front, I actually typed up what I was doing, because my notes were really sketchy and really, I mean, I'll show you my notes. They're just, so basically this is what I had to go by. There's loads of scribbles and mess. So I've typed it all up and my printer was playing up. I thought it was broken completely. So I couldn't print it. We managed to fix my printer like a day or two before we went on holiday, but I didn't get around to printing it because I thought, well, I'm going away, I'm not going to knit on it anyway. So when we got back, I was trying to work out from the back exactly how many repeats I did, because the last repeat I did half the repeat and then I did another chart. I was trying to work it out and I was counting, and I've been putting these markers in after every repeat so I can count easily, and I thought, oh, I've gone too far. I've done 16 rows too far. And then so I unpicked those 16 rows on Tuesday night, and then the last 2 rows before that I should have knitted them slightly differently. So I unpicked 2 more rows. So I unpicked 18 rows. I re-knitted 2 rows, and then I suddenly thought, have I written up the pattern? So I went and checked got my laptop out and checked it, and I realized that I had written up the pattern and I needn't have done all those 18 rows. I only had to undo 2 rows. So I'd unpicked 18 rows of lace, and it's got these double yarn overs, so it's not the easiest thing to unpick, and 104 stitches. So spent quite a lot of time on that Tuesday evening, and then I'd re-knitted 2 rows, realized I'd done it wrong. So then when I started the next row, when I realized that I had to knit another 16 rows, I was trying to, as I was knitting the first row, instead of unpicking the last 2 rows again and knitting them correctly, there was just like 4 stitches in each repeat that were wrong. So I was just, when I got to that point, I was just dropping down 2 rows and fixing those. Then I got to the end of the row and I thought, this isn't working out. And it turned out, because it's got these double yarn overs, when I was unpicking it, on one of those double yarn overs, I dropped 1 yarn over, but not noticed it. So I was 1 stitch out, and that mistake was right at the beginning of the row. So then I unpicked those last 2 rows I'd done and re-knitted them, and so I am back on track, but I could have been probably at least 2 repeats further on. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. I should have trusted my instinct and thought, I'm too tired to decide on this tonight and work this out tonight, and done something else, but I didn't. So right, I actually found a yarn shop in Spain this time. I've always really struggled to find a yarn shop. My parents' flat is near Torrevieja, south of Torrevieja, on the southern Costa Blanca, on the Orihuela Costa, and the only place I found that sells yarn is El Corte Inglés in Murcia city, which is nearby, about an hour away, and they only have really acrylic and not that much. And I thought there must be a yarn shop there. So I actually asked a few weeks before we went away. I had an order from somebody in that part of Spain. So I was a bit cheeky and I emailed her and I said, do you know if there's any yarn shops in that area? And she told me about one in Elche. May not be pronouncing that city correctly, which is just south of Alicante. But we went there on the day it was raining, like I was saying earlier, and we didn't get a chance to go because of siesta and things like that. And we couldn't hang around because the weather was getting so bad. So I didn't get a chance to go. But I knew there was a yarn shop in Torrevieja. But I heard last year, or I saw on Facebook last year, just before we went to Spain, that it was closing down. So I didn't bother visiting last year. But this year, my mum said, no, I'm pretty sure it's still there. So I Googled it and found out that it was still there. So on Saturday, we popped in because my mum had bought some yarn from there last time she was in Spain and she needed some more. So we popped in. It's a yarn shop called Garnhimmelen, which means yarn heaven in Norwegian. And it is Norwegian run. I'm sure they speak English. It is, they sell a lot of Norwegian yarn. They also had Katja, which is a Spanish brand, but I think the rest of the yarn was mainly Norwegian. We had my dad and Simon waiting in the car outside, so we didn't spend an awful lot of time there because the weather wasn't, it was on the Thursday when the weather was deteriorating rapidly. So we didn't spend that much time there, but I did buy something. I was very tempted to buy some silky alpaca, which I think might have been Sandnes Garn, Norwegian company. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember. But I did buy some yarn. It's a company called Viking of Norway, which I've never actually heard of. Don't think I've seen it when I've been in Norway. So it's called Viking of Norway. The garn is called Nordlys, which is Northern Lights in Norwegian, and it's superwash merino and nylon. Yeah, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Love the colours. They have some really gorgeous colours, and I could have bought more than one, but I knew my suitcase was really full. It's single strand, so it's a single ply. So I don't know whether I'm going to use it for socks. That's what I bought it thinking I would do socks, but I want a cowl to wear inside my coat when I walk out in the winter, because scarves sometimes and shawls sometimes blow around a bit. So I'm thinking I want a cowl or an infinity scarf. Now, these will probably be my favourite hand warmers this winter, and yes, I do wear beaded lacy hand warmers when I walk the dog. And I was thinking this kind of goes quite nicely with those. It's not exactly the same, but there are some of that colour in there. So I was thinking maybe I'll knit a cowl. So I haven't quite decided yet. I won't have time to cast on for a bit anyway, so I'm not that bothered about deciding yet. I want to finish some of this before I decide. So quickly before we finish, I just want to quickly talk about what I've got coming up, because it's a really busy time coming up, so I just quickly want to rattle through that. Oh, and I got to remember, I'll do that before I forget. In the episode before my before I went away, episode 6 I think it was, I said I would do a prize draw if you commented. So I did a random number generator just before I came on here, and the winner is Ms. Poodle Love. I got a feeling I may know who that is. But if you are Ms. Poodle Love, send me a message and I will arrange to send you your prize. So I'll get that sorted. So coming up, really busy time ahead with workshops. October especially is always crazy, and this year is no exception. On Saturday, I am teaching in Plymouth. I was just trying to see if I got what I'm teaching here so I can show you, but I don't, which isn't very good. So I'm teaching in Plymouth, in Devon, near where I live, at Wool Palette, and I'm teaching sailboom mittens. Now, sailboom mittens are Norwegian colourwork mittens, so you learn how to knit in the round, how to knit colourwork, i.e. 2 strands, how to do the continental knit stitch, how to shape the mittens and how to put the thumb in and that kind of thing. So that's on Saturday, 21st of September. I'll put the links to all these workshops below, so if you're interested you can go and book. 28th and 29th of September, that's next week, the weekend next week. Bearing in mind I'm hoping I'll get this out before Saturday. I'm going to be a Yarndale in Yorkshire. I've done Yarndale every single year since they started, and it's a fantastic show, very, very busy. If you're coming, the Sunday's always quieter. Saturday's crazy. So if you don't like it too busy, or you have mobility problems and you find the crowds a little bit intimidating or difficult to get around, you might want to consider Sunday. 3rd of October, I am at Spinner Yarn in Devon, Bobby Tracy, Devon, for toe-up socks. So you'll learn to knit socks from the toe up, and you'll also learn how you can knit 2 socks at the same time. 5th of October, I'm at 3 Bags Full Wool Market in Liskeard, which is my hometown. It's first time it's on a Saturday, I think. I didn't do it last year because it clashed with something else I had on, so I'm really excited to be back this year. It's on the 5th of October. I think it starts at midday, and then goes on all afternoon. I don't know, I haven't looked at the full list of stallholders yet, but I know the list of stallholders has increased every year, and I think it's actually bigger this year than last year. So it is worth, if you're in the southwest, to make a trip down to Liskeard for that. So that's 5th of October. 8th of October, I'm teaching a top-down yoke workshop, which basically is this kind of stuff. So this is a new pattern that will have been released by the time this podcast goes out. So that's what it looks like. I was going to put it on, but it's quite hot, so I didn't put it on because I was a bit hot when I started recording. But the top down yoke, you basically learn how to knit a yoke sweater. So this is a poncho, so you learn how to add the sleeves and things as well, but you learn how to knit it from the neck down, doing a colorwork pattern, and doing all the maths to shape the yoke and divide for the sleeves and the body. And I'll also show you how you can knit it to fit yourself. So really good workshop, fit in so much in that workshop. So that's on the 8th of October at 3 Bags Full in Liskeard. It's actually at the Liskeard Community Centre, Liskeard Centre in Liskeard. I'll put all the links below. 12th of October, I'm back in Plymouth for Wool Palette to teach socks and continental knitting. So we're going to combine socks and continental knitting. It will mainly be the continental knit stitch because you don't tend to purl an awful lot on socks. So that's, you don't have to do the continental part if you don't want to, but I know some people wanted to do it or wanted like a repetition of it. So socks on the 12th of October at the Wool Palette in Plymouth. 15th of October, it's 3 Bags Full in Liskeard again at the Liskeard Centre in Liskeard in Cornwall for beaded lace knitting. 19th and 20th of October, I'm at the Knit Tea Retreat in Cardiff. There are workshops on the Saturday and Sunday morning, I think, and I think those are all fully booked. But on Sunday afternoon, on the 20th of October, there's a yarn market, and I'll be having a stall at that. And that's open for everyone who's at the retreat, plus anyone else who wants to come. It's at Insole Court in Cardiff. It's a beautiful venue. Last year, the weather was absolutely cracking. And there were some really nice stalls at the wool market, the yarn market. So if you are in the South Wales area or maybe Bristol area, or you want to travel to Cardiff for the day, I mean, Cardiff is a lovely city anyway, then it's the yarn market on the Sunday afternoon is open to everyone. And then on the 29th of October, I'm at Spinner Yarn in Bobby Tracy in Devon for continental knitting. Not done continental knitting there for a while, so I'm hoping that'll be popular. So you'll learn how to knit continental style, how to do the Norwegian purl and the regular continental purl, and long tail cast on continental style. So continental knitting is basically holding the yarn in your left hand. So that's it. Bit of a long podcast today, just catching up. I've got so many things on the go at the moment. I really feel like I need to finish some of those off because I need to cast on for a new project this week. So this is Cat and Sparrow, which I hadn't actually heard of before I received this yarn. It is Oh So Fine lace, which is Blue Face Leicester and silk. It's a slightly thicker lace, like 600 meters per 100 gram. Love the colors. This is a design from a magazine. I can tell you which one. So I have written up the pattern this week, and I need to cast on. I'll probably wind the yarn tomorrow and cast on this weekend, but I'm desperate to try and finish this cardigan before I do. But we'll see. But I need to cast on and take it with me when we go away next week, because the deadline is, I think, second week of October or something. So I need to get on with it. But I'm desperate to finish that cardigan before I do. I was hoping to finish that cardigan so I could wear it on Yarndale. I won't have the pattern ready, so maybe I shouldn't be wearing it anyway, but we'll see. So that's it. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll put all the links to everything below. I won't be releasing an episode next week because of Yarndale. I will try and record a few glimpses of what it's like doing a big show like Yarndale. So to do like a little vlog type episode when I get back. And then we'll be back to normal the following week. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day and enjoy your knitting.